Hi, I'm Megan Powell of the Essex Bridge Center, and this video is the first in a series talking about basic declare trump play of the hand. So we're going to explore in this series how a declarer plans out and plays a trump contract. Let's get started. So we begin our series with the fundamentals of how to make a plan, and then we're going to focus on one of three different development techniques that we'll talk about in this series. Today, we're going to talk about a technique called establishing a long suit, but we're going to take a look at the whole plan from top down together. All right. Now, in this first class, we will talk about the concept of a plan and we will start applying it, but you have more information that has already come your way. I sent you a lot of stuff before this class started, right? You received from me a video and a PDF on how opening leads work by the defenders against a trump contract. Now, I'm not going into detail in this series on how opening leads work. That's why I sent you the video and the PDF to look through. I wanted to give you some idea of what the declarer has to think about in terms of looking at an opening lead from an opponent. That plays into what a declarer also considers in making a plan. You do have to understand what an opening lead means against you. So take a look, please, again at that video and the PDF I've already sent. Also, along with this first lesson, you should have received an expanded PDF on how a declarer makes that top-down plan. There are 5 steps that we talk about when we make a plan as a declarer in a trump contract. Before you play a single card from the dummy declarers, you should be thinking about how you're going to proceed through all 13 tricks, all right? You're allowed a minute or so after the opening lead is made and before you call for a single card from dummy. You want to think about where you're heading, putting that plan together, and then walking through the plan. Also, as part of this specific lesson, you should have received a video, this video, and a PDF about today's specific development topic, establishing length. Now, each week as we talk about this series, you're going to get a PDF and you're going to get a video before we come together in class. Let's start with making a plan. Now, the opponent has made an opening lead and the dummy appears on the table. And your first job, declarer, is to think about where you're headed in these 13 tricks, right? So we're going to walk through this over and over in this series. And here are the 5 steps in the basics of how to make a plan as a declarer. There are 5 different areas you're going to think about. Some of them only take a couple of seconds. So we're going to talk about first thoughts, winning an early reasonable trick, pulling trump from the opponents, and then the development part. This is where we're going to spend most of our time, developing other suits to get the extra tricks we need. And then finally, we've got to take our remaining winners and finish out playing the hand as we work through the end of the 13 tricks. We're going to walk through steps 1, 2, and 3 quickly. And remember, you have more information, much more detail in your handout, not only in this week's lesson for class 1, but in the Making a Plan PDF. So the very first step is your first thoughts. When we talk about first thoughts, this is after the opening lead is made, the dummy has come down, you take a deep breath and trying to clear your head. And the best way I can think of to do that is for you to think about 2 specific questions. And those questions have to do with understanding the requirements to make your contract. All right. So here are the 2 questions you ask yourself. How many tricks do I need to make my contract? And how many tricks can I afford to lose and still make my contract? I will tell you that by just answering those 2 questions silently to yourself will do more for you getting started than pretty much anything else. Because when you are the declarer, the opening lead has been made, you are a little jittery, right? You're trying to think about, okay, what am I doing first? Well, here's what you're doing first. You're taking a deep, deep breath and answering these two questions. They will move your brain forward for you. Then, after you've identified the first thoughts, you're moving on to winning an early reasonable trick. And really what you're saying to yourself is, can I win trick one? I'd like to win trick one. And if I do win trick one, does it matter which card in the suit? Do I play a winner from my declare hand? Do I play a winner from dummy? Does it matter? You want to stop and think about that. And we're going to discuss card choices as we go along. Specifically, we'll also talk about a specific technique in choosing which card to play first in a suit called high card from the short side. And you'll see it abbreviated everywhere as HCSS. If you cannot win trick one, then your job is to try and deduce when you will win a trick. Based on what the opening lead is, that may lead you to think, oh, well, they're winning the first trick. They've led an ace. And if they led an ace, they had the king underneath it. So they're probably winning two tricks. So you have to say to yourself, when am I likely to win a first trick? What is my first early reasonable win? I need to get the lead. I need to start my plan, but it doesn't start really until I get the lead. So can I win trick one? If not, do I think I'll win trick two? You have to reasonably try and figure out when you think you can get in. Your third task, after you have won the earliest reasonable trick, your first task is to pull trump. Full stop. At this point of your bridge career, you don't know a lot of fancy things about how to play a hand. So right now, your first job is to pull the opponent's trump from them. Don't even think about anything else just yet. All right? And this means you pull trump when you have all the high cards in the trump suit, and you pull trump until the opponents have no more. But it also means that you pull trump when you do not have all the high cards in that trump suit. You pull trump. That's it. And we'll work through different ways of pulling trump when we have high cards and when we don't have high cards in the series. But you're still going to do this as your first task declare. So those are the first 3 steps in your 5-step plan. See, that didn't take a lot of time. And you're allowed to spend a little time thinking through those first 3 things. How many tricks do I need to make my contract, and how many can I afford to lose? Can I win this first trick? And if not, when do I think I'll win it? And then as soon as you win that first trick, your job is to pull the trump away from the opponents, play trump until they have no more, and then stop pulling trump. Because then after you've pulled trump from the opponents, you're going on to step 4. Now this is where we're going to spend most of our time in this play of the hand series. This is what I refer to as developing other suits to earn the tricks you need to make your contract. You're going to start looking at your side suits after you've pulled trump. Now, what are side suits? Side suits are the 3 other suits that are not the trump suit. All right, so you're looking at those other 3 suits, and you're going to try and figure out what techniques, what tools can I use to manipulate, to coax, to create extra necessary winners to make my contract. Because it would be lovely if every time you picked up a bridge hand and you were in a 4-spade contract where you had to take 10 tricks, that you could just look at the hand and say, oh, there they are. I can see all 10 tricks. But that usually is not the case. Usually a bridge hand requires a little bit of work to make sure that you're playing the cards in the right order, all right, in order to take as many tricks as you possibly can. So your first job after you pull trump is to figure out, do you have a suit or suits that need a little bit of extra help or that need to be played in a certain order? When you must develop extra tricks, when you must use techniques to ensure that you get more tricks out of your hand, you need to work on that suit, whatever suit you've designated, or as we continue and we add more complexity, suits. So what suit do you have to work on? And you do that immediately after you pull the opponent's trump. Do not play your absolute sure winners. Leave them alone. Put them on the side. As soon as you finish pulling trump, you attack whatever suit you need to pay special attention to. Now, there are 3 techniques for developing these other side suits, and then we'll work on them in this series. The one we're going to work on today is called establishing a long suit or establishing length. Now, this is when you have 7, 8, or even more cards in a suit. And it's usually a minor suit, because if you had that much length in a major suit, that would be your trump suit. We're talking about side suits, not your long trump suit. So you have 7 as a minimum, but it would be better if you had 8 or more cards in a long suit. You have maybe the top 3 honor cards. If you did, that would be fantastic. That will go a long way to making sure you can take extra winners in that suit. But you still have to know how to play that suit in the right order, even when you have all the high cards, in order to maximize the number of tricks you can take in that suit. It may, in fact, matter a great deal that you play a suit in a specific order. Now, sometimes you will not have the top 3 honor cards, right? But you still have this long suit. You have to figure out how to play that suit bravely, because you're going to have to lose a trick or 2 in order to set up extra winners in that length for later in the hand. You're going to have to delay your gratification up front. You're going to have to lose when you hold a long suit that does not have high cards in order for you to make sure you have some winners in that suit later. And we'll talk about how that works in a few minutes. All right. So we're going to learn two techniques and 2 things to think about when we have to work with a long suit. One of those things is a technique called high card from the short side. And the other concept is understanding what transportation means. So we'll identify both of those things as we go through a sample hand. So today we're going to talk about establishing a long suit, establishing length. As we continue through the series, we will talk about 2 other development techniques, one of them called promotion and one of them called the simple finesse. So we'll have different ways to mine extra tricks that we need to make our contract. So those are the first 4 steps in your plan. You're gathering your first thoughts, winning an early reasonable trick, pulling the opponent's trump, and then working hard on a suit that needs development in order for you to earn the extra tricks you need to make your contract. And yes, that is where you'll be spending most of your time when you play a bridge hand. After that, what is left to do? After you've developed whatever side suit you needed, well, the last thing is to take your remaining winners, because you put your sure winners on the side earlier. You didn't take all your high, beautiful winning tricks. You put them on the side so you could develop a suit. Now is where you reap that reward. Now you go back in and take any of the tricks that you developed in your long suit and any sure winners you put on the side. You finish playing out the hand. All right. So these are the 5 steps we're going to walk through. We're going to spend special attention on developing other suits, step 4. And today that development piece will focus on establishing a long suit. Now, in your PDF for class 1, you have a sample hand that I've walked through, and I'm going to do that here with you so you can reference your PDF if that helps. All right. So let's get started on putting together the pieces of this plan, paying special attention to establishing a long suit. But first, let's make sure that we can define what a long suit is and why we care. And you'll find this in your class 1 PDF packet as well. So what is a long suit in bridge? I said a little earlier that it's usually at least 7 cards in a suit. Boy, 8 or 9 cards would even be better. All right. Because when you hold that much length in a suit, and we're probably talking about a minor suit here, when you hold real length in a suit, the opponents are going to have fewer cards than you have. They will run out of that suit earlier. But you'll also want to pay attention to what the split is in the opponent's hand. When you hold 8 cards in a suit, the opponents have only 5, and there is a usual split in those 5 cards. Now, if you had 9 cards, that would even be better, right? The more cards you have in your long suit, the fewer cards the opponents have, and the more extra winners you can cultivate, because the opponents will run out of that suit early. Now, long suits earn extra tricks. If you have 8 cards or more in a suit, the opponents are not going to have many, right? So let's talk about a couple of different examples of long suits and see what you can figure out from this. Now, in this suit that I have on the screen for you, I want you to figure out what you can tell me about this suit. What are the facts you can tell me from just looking at this holding? Let's start from general and work to more specific. First of all, this suit has 8 cards between declare and dummy's hands, right? 5 cards on one side of the table, 3 cards on the other. The opponents, therefore, have 5 cards in this suit, right? That's just simple math. If you have 8 cards, to get to 13 cards in the suit, they have 5. Now here you have the ace, the king, and the queen between those 2 hands. That's very helpful to have the high cards. So those are the facts so far. Now, what can you put together? What can you infer from these facts? Well, one of the first things you need to know, and you can start embracing and start applying, is that when you hold an 8-card suit and the opponents have 5 cards in a suit, in this case, they have 5 diamond cards. When they have a 5-card holding, the most likely split between their 2 opponent hands are 3 cards in one hand and 2 cards in the other, or 3 and 2, right? They have 5 cards, and the internet is full of charts for all kinds of things in bridge. And one of the things you'll find on the internet is a chart of probabilities for how many cards the opponents have in each of their hands when you hold X number of cards in a suit. You hold 6 cards in a suit, what's the likely split of their 7 cards between their 2 hands? You hold 8 cards, you hold 9 cards, you hold 10 cards. What is the likely split of the remaining cards in the 2 opponent hands? That's important information for you. And one of the things that you need to take away from this right now is very often when we have an 8-card suit, and remember, we have 8-card suits when we have trump suits, right? But we're talking outside of the trump suit. We're talking about an 8-card side suit here, an 8-card diamond suit that's not our trump suit. When you have 8 cards in a suit, the opponents have 5. They are most likely split 3 cards in one hand and 2 cards in the other hand of the opponents. When you are missing, and this is a nice maxim for you to write down somewhere in your notes and try and remember, when you are missing an odd number of cards, they will tend to split as evenly as possible. So when you're missing 5 cards, you cannot get an absolute even number of cards in each opponent's hand because it's an odd number of missing cards. But the most even split you can get is 3 cards in one hand and 2 cards in the other, right? So when you're missing an odd number of cards, they will tend to split as evenly as possible. Quite frankly, it will be about 70% of the time. Now, some of you will be saying, oh, 70% in school was not a good score. But I want you to think about this. There are billions, with a B as in boy, billions of possible bridge deals. Billions. Think about this. If 70% of the time in billions of deals, something happens, then that's a lot. So 70% of the time when you are missing 5 cards, the opponent's 5 cards will split 3 and 2. That's a huge amount of time. And so when, as declare, we make a plan, we count on that split. Could we end up being surprised? Sure. Okay. But we count on that particular split. Now, declare has the 3 highest diamond cards here on my screen, the ace, king, queen. And if the opponents have 5 cards that are likely split 3 and 2, then after 3 rounds of diamonds are played, with declare winning the ace, king, queen, the opponents are very likely to now be void in that diamond suit. True? They would have followed suit 3 times, as much as they could, and their missing 5 cards are gone now. That means that declare's 2 remaining diamond cards up there in declare's hand on my screen are now winners. They're outright winners. They're automatically winners, even if they're the 2, because nobody else has diamonds. And that means if you play this hand correctly, declare can win 5 diamond tricks. That's nice, but you have to play the hand correctly for that to work. Okay? Now, let's look at the same 8 cards, but instead of them being 5 cards on one side of the table and 3 cards on the other, this is a more balanced view of those 8 cards. Now we have a 4 and a 4. It's still the same 8 cards, but we've put them more evenly. It's a more balanced shape. It is still a long suit. It's just not extra long on one side of the table. It's still an 8-card diamond suit, but now it's more even in length on both sides of the table. The opponents still have 5 diamonds, and they're still likely to split 3-2, and you are still likely to take away all their diamonds if you play the ace, the king, and the queen, 3 rounds of diamonds. But that does mean, then, Declare, you have to look at the 4th card in this diamond suit. It is probably a winner. Assuming that the opponent's split was in fact 3-2, which is fairly normal, then your 4th diamond is going to win a trick outright. Okay, so on this hand, if dummy wins one trick with the ace of diamonds, and then Declare wins the king and the queen of diamonds, that's 3 rounds of diamonds. And Declare would have put the 7 of diamonds with dummy's ace, right? And that means the 8 of diamonds is the highest card left between the 2 hands. Declare, you get 1 extra diamond trick with the 8. You don't get 2 like we had on the last version of this. On the last version, we had a 5-card side of the table and a 3-card side of the table. And Declare was able to take 2 extra diamond tricks. Well, when they're balanced like this, still 8 cards, but they're 4 and 4, you're only going to get 1 extra diamond trick. Okay, not 2. So a balanced shape length is not going to take as many tricks as a lopsided length, but it's still an extra winner. And that's important for you to know. Now, this is where it gets slightly harder. You are used to holding the ace, king, and queen in the previous 2 examples. And that makes playing a long suit pretty easy. But what if you don't have all the high cards? You still have an 8-card suit. The opponents still have 5 cards. How do you figure out how to play this suit? Now you have an 8-card diamond suit, and the opponents still have 5 cards and are still likely to split 3-2. But you are missing the king, the queen, and the jack now. And you cannot play 3 diamond tricks in a row to win tricks, but you can still set up 2 extra winners in Declare's diamond hand here. How do you do that? You're going to win the ace, but you're going to have to be brave on this because you don't have the king or the queen. You're going to have to be brave and lose tricks in order for 2 of Declare's long diamonds to end up as winners later. You want to establish 2 extra winners from that length in Declare's hand, but you're going to have to be brave about this. Now, how do you play an 8-card suit like this, uneven, unbalanced, that is missing high honors? You don't have the king, you don't have the queen, you don't have the jack. So here's my suggestion on how to play this hand. I would cash, meaning win in your own hand, the ace of diamonds and play a diamond from Declare's hand, right? So I'm going to cross out the ace, I'm going to cross out the 2, and I'm watching the opponents play. Did they both follow suit? Did they both play a diamond? Well, if so, that's 2 of your 5 missing diamonds. Now, do not count to 13 to try and figure out when they're void. That will just drive you batty. Count the missing diamonds. You are missing 5 of them. Count when the opponents play, and only count when they play, and that will get you to 5 faster. So that's 2 of the missing 5 diamonds, and you have won that trick, right? You're on lead. So what you do next is you lead a diamond again. You play any diamond from Declare's hand and dummy's hand. You intend to lose this diamond trick, but you're going to learn information. You're going to see if they've both followed suit. And so let's assume you have the usual 3-2 split in those missing 5. And when you play these 2 diamonds, one from dummy, one from Declare, they both follow suit. They will win the trick with a winning diamond. But now 4 of the 5 missing diamonds have been played. Now the opponents are on lead. They have won this diamond trick. And this is what your hand looks like now. But what happens next is the opponent is going to play a card, is going to play a trick that you can win. Why? Because you still have high cards in your other suits. Remember, you put all your sure winners on the side? You didn't take all those good winners? This is one of the main reasons why. You want to be able to have the ability to gain back the lead from the opponents. So they're going to play a trick you can win. It might be this trick, it might be one trick later, but you're going to get the lead back. And now what you're going to do is you're going to lead a third diamond. You're going to play a third diamond from each hand, and you intend to lose it again. You are intending to lose it. You're being so brave. And yes, the opponents now have won this trick. But did the final opponent play that fifth missing diamond? If so, the opponents are now void in diamonds. If you had a regular 3-2 split, it took 3 rounds. You won 1 round with the ace of diamonds. You lost 2 rounds to them, to their king, queen, jack. But they are now void in diamonds. And what they're going to do next is lead something you can win, because you still have sure winners in other suits. Now, what you see here on the screen are the 2 remaining established diamond winners up in Declare's hand. The 8 and the 7 are now outright winners. They're automatically going to win 2 tricks because the opponents don't have any. Now, how are you going to get to them? Well, you're going to have to get over to Declare's hand in a different suit. Another reason why you keep sure winners. That's called transportation. Transportation is your ability to play a card from, let's say, my side of the table and win it over on your side of the table in a suit. So it is a winning trick, but I did it intentionally that way. Play from here, win over there by your side, so I can move to a different suit on your side of the table and play cards in that suit. It is a way for me to travel from my side of the table over to your side of the table, winning a trick, because that's what I need to do to get over there. And then I can move to another suit and work on something that's only on that side of the table. In this case, in order for you to get to that 8 and 7 of diamonds, you're going to have to go through a different suit, winning a trick in Declare's hand, and then you're going to play the 8 and the 7. And before you even ask the question, because I know some of you are already thinking it, right? Could you have done this, played this hand a slightly different way? Yes, you could have, absolutely. In fact, you didn't have to win the ace of diamonds on the first trick. It usually doesn't matter that much. A lot of players like to cash that ace first so they can immediately play a second diamond trick so that they can check what the split is. But it doesn't matter that much. If you wanted to play this a different way, here's the way I would suggest. Play a diamond in both hands, a lower diamond, and lose it. That's the first round of diamonds. Lose it to the opponents. Now, the opponents will play a suit you can win, so you're going to regain the lead pretty quickly. Then I would tell you to play the ace and win it. That's the second round of diamonds. Again, you're watching the opponents. Are they following suit? You're looking for 5 missing cards. And then on the third round of diamonds, you play and lose because you only have 1 more out against you at that point. And then they're going to play something back to you that you can win, and you have to get back over to Declare's hand and cash those 2 good diamonds. Now, that's when we have an 8-card suit. What about when we only have 7 cards? Can we still win extra tricks? We can. It depends on which cards we have and which cards the opponents have. It also changes the split in the opponent's hand. When you have 7 diamond cards, for instance, between Declare and Dummy, the opponents have 6 cards between them, right? That's an even number of missing cards. And when you're missing an even number of cards, here's another maxim for you to write down. When you're missing an even number of cards, they will tend to split a little oddly. They could split evenly. You know, you could have a 3-3 split, but they will tend to split 4-2. They will tend to split a little oddly. The split percentages are these. A 4-2 split is almost 48% of the time, and a 3-3 split is almost 36% of the time, which means that those are the most likely splits when you are missing 6 cards. That's a huge percentage again, right? That's like an 84% percentage that it's going to split one of those 2 ways. So it can work in your favor quite a lot of the time. Now, in this example, you have 7 diamond cards. You are missing the jack, you are missing the 10. Is that a problem? Well, not on the first 3 rounds, it's not. But if you wanted to win a 4th diamond trick in Declare's hand, you're going to need a 3-3 split here most of the time. You could have a 4-2 split, but only if the jack and the 10 are in the 2, right? Only if your 4 cards are if the 4 cards in one opponent's hands are all baby diamonds and the 2 cards in the other opponent's hand are the jack and the 10, that would work. But a 3-3 split is really what you need here. And the only way you're going to find out is to test this. As soon as you finish pulling trump, you would go after this suit. This is the suit that needs to be played correctly or needs to be tested to see if it can be developed. All right. You want to test this right away to see if the fourth diamond in declarer's hand is an automatic winner. Okay, you would play the ace, you would then play the king and the queen, and you're watching the opponents play the whole time. They both follow suit on trick on the first time you play it, great. Watch to see if the jack or the 10 fall. You played to the king, see if they both follow suit. You definitely need that. And see if the jack or the 10 have fallen. Now, when you go to play the queen, the third round, you are crossing your fingers because you want them both to follow suit. That would get you a 3-3 split, and the jack and the 10 would fall, and that would make your 8 or your 7 in declarer's hand an automatic winner. If on the third round, when you play the queen, only one opponent plays, and they're going to play the 10 likely, then that means the jack is still out there, and your fourth diamond in declarer won't work. But the only way you'll know is to test it. So let's look at our sample hand and get a feel for playing long suits. All right. Let's see how this goes. You have a sample hand in your packet. Let's walk through it together. Are you ready? So the sample hand I gave you in the packet, I've told you what the contract is. I'm not going to explain what the bidding was. I don't care what the bidding is, because what happens in a play in the hand class where we don't handle bidding is that you are in a contract. You don't know how you got there, but you're there. You're going to have to make it work, hopefully. So the contract we're in is 4 spades by South. South is our declarer. And I will tell you that the opening lead by West that you cannot see is the King of Hearts, right? The King of Hearts is the opening lead by West. And I particularly did not in your packet give you East and West's hand for a reason. You cannot see East and West's hand while you are playing the hand as declared, can you? No, you have to make decisions. You have to make your plan without being able to say the opponent's suits, right? So you have to make your plan based on what you can see, and that's the opening lead, and that's your dummy hand and your declare hand. Now, the first thing you have to figure out is, what does the opening lead mean? If West leads the King of Hearts, what does that lead promise you? Well, that's top of touching honors, right? That means that West leading the King of Hearts is also promising that he has the Queen of Hearts. Now, he's not so much promising you that, he's promising his own partner that. That's information for his partner. Okay, so the King of Hearts has been led by West. Now you know where the Queen of Hearts is. Put that in your head. And you're going to start your plan. Before you play a single card from dummy, you're going to start putting your plan together. And the first part of your plan, step 1, is, what are your first thoughts? Take a deep breath and ask yourself 2 questions. How many tricks do you need to make your contract? Well, in a 4-spade contract, at the 4 level, you need to take 10 out of 13 tricks. You need to make book plus 4. How many tricks can you afford to lose and still make this contract? Well, if you need 10 tricks out of 13, that leaves 3 other tricks. You can lose 3 tricks and still make your contract. All right, deep breath. You have gathered your first thoughts. Now your brain has a general roadmap. I need 10 tricks. What's the second step in your process? You want to win an early, reasonable trick. So the first thing you ask yourself is, can I win trick 1? South is our declare. The King of Hearts is the opening lead. Can South win trick 1? Well, yes, South has the Ace of Hearts. South can win trick 1, and sometimes you can and sometimes you cannot. All right. On this hand, South can get started on the rest of the plan by winning this first trick, and that's absolutely what South should do. So I'm going to cross out the Ace of Hearts and the 7 of Hearts in North. All right. And now what I've done, if you look at the hand on my screen, is I have grayed out the 7 of Hearts. I have grayed out the Ace of Hearts. I will continue to do that as we play hands so that you get a better picture of what cards are left. So we've gathered our first thoughts. We've won an early reasonable trick, right? Now, what's next? Third step, pull trump from the opponents. Now, this is where you get the kids off the street. You are in a 4-spade contract. You have 8 spade cards. You have the ace, the king, and the queen. The opponents have 5 cards in the spade suit, and pulling 3 rounds, the ace, the king, and the queen, ought to void the opponents. Why? Because remember, if they have 5 spades, the most likely split is 3-2. And so if you play ace, king, queen 3 rounds, they will likely now be void in spades. And so that's what you need to do here. And it doesn't matter which order you play these 3 spade honors, okay? But you're going to play the ace, the king, and the queen. And in doing so, you have watched the opponents played. You were looking for 5 spade cards from them. And after you played the 4th trick, you saw that. You stopped playing trump, okay? And now your hand looks like this. You've played 3 spade cards. You still have 1 spade in north. You've played 3 spade cards in south. You have 1 spade left in south. And again, we played that ace of hearts to win trick 1. So now this is what the rest of your hand looks like after trick 4. So we've done the first 3 steps. First thoughts, win an early reasonable trick, and pull the opponent's trump. And now we get to the meat of any hand. This is the development portion, right? Step 4. We want to develop a side suit. And today we're talking about establishing a long suit. You're looking for a long suit that will create the extra tricks you might need to make your contract. And you have to focus on playing that long suit correctly in order to get those extra tricks. You want to maximize your trick count. And I keep saying this, and I'm going to say it again here. This is the most important point. We have to remember this. You leave your sure winners alone. For instance, you have the ace of clubs. You're not playing the ace of clubs right now. That's a sure winner. Don't touch it. Don't play your additional trump cards, your 5 of spades, your 9 of spades. Leave them alone. You might even need some of these cards to go back and forth, to travel from one side of the table to the other. Transportation. Instead, what you're doing is you're looking for a long suit. This long suit in diamonds has 8 cards. That is your long suit. So you need to establish this long suit correctly. The opponents have 5 cards. It is probably a 3-2 split. Count on that, okay? You have the ace, the king, and the queen of diamonds, 3 outright winners. And if the opponents have 5 cards and a 3-2 split, then that should void the opponents after 3 rounds. And that should leave you, hopefully, 2 extra diamond cards in north that will become your extra developed winners. If you play this hand correctly, that will get you your extra winners. Now, does it matter how you play the suit, the diamond suit? And remember, you are playing the diamond suit right now after pulling trump. This is the suit that you have to make sure is played correctly, that will develop extra tricks. It is done immediately after you pull trump, but it does matter how you play it. And this is where we want to start thinking about something called high card from the short side, HCSS. Now look at both sides of the table at the diamond suit. You have winning diamond honors on both sides of the table. You have the queen in south, you have the ace king in north. Does it matter how you play them? It absolutely does. Because you have a shorter side of the diamond suit, south has only 3 cards. You have a longer side of the diamond suit, north has 5 cards. If you play the ace of diamonds first, and then play the king of diamonds, and then you play a low diamond from north over to the queen of diamonds in south, how are you going to get back to the 2 extra diamonds in north? If you play the ace of diamonds first, and then you play the king of diamonds, and with both of those cards, you play the 7 and the 5 in south, and then the 3rd round of diamonds, you play the 6 of diamonds in north to the queen in south, you have no diamonds remaining in south's hand. How are you going to get back across the table to north to take that 9 of diamonds and that 8 of diamonds that surely will be good by then? You will have developed them. You will have established those 2 as extra winners, and you can't get there easily, right? I mean, you do still have a spade trump in north. You still have the 9 of spades. And yes, you could lead a suit, some suit from south to a void in north and trump it. That would get you across the table. But take a look at north's hand. You don't have any voids. You couldn't do that right now. That is a very inefficient way of using the rest of your trump. It really, really is. You should not be using your trump as transportation unless you have no other way to use that trump. There is a better way on this hand. Instead, if we play this hand in the correct order using high card from the short side, it will ensure that we end up in the right place. The idea behind high card from the short side is that we are going to win the diamond honor on the shorter side of the suit first. We're going to clear it out first, because what that does is then we will play from that shorter side after we win that honor to the longer side, and then we will run down the winning cards on the long side of the table. So let's see how this works. Trick 5 we're up to. What we need to do is win the queen of diamonds. That is the honor on the shorter side of the diamond suit. Again, diamonds in South are only 3 cards. There are 5 cards in North. So I don't know whether you won trick 4 when you were pulling trump in North's hand or South's hand. It does not matter. What matters is that on trick 5, the first time you're going to play diamonds, you either have to lead the 6 from North down to the queen, or if you're already in South's hand, play the queen. But the first diamond winner needs to be high card from the short side, the queen of diamonds, and put North 6 with it. All right, and I'm crossing those out. Now, you have just cleared the highest card on the shorter side of the table. Did both opponents play diamonds? Let's assume they did. Let's assume you have the usual 3-2 split. If they did, well, they've just played 2 of the missing 5 diamonds. Yay. There's still 3 diamonds in their hands. Now we're going to play to the longer side of the suit. On trick 6, you're going to play the 5 of diamonds in South to North's ace of diamonds, winning the trick. Watch the opponents. Did they both follow suit? If they did, now they've played 4 of the 5 missing diamonds. There's only 1 more diamond in one of their hands. On trick 7, you're going to cash the king of diamonds and put South's 7 of diamonds with it. And if you watch the opponents, they should have played the 5th missing diamond. They should now be void in diamonds. And after trick 7, take a look at the screen. You have the ace, king, 6 of diamonds gone in North. You have all the diamonds gone in South. And the beautiful part of this is you have developed 2 extra diamonds. You have made sure they became winners. You established them. And because you won the last trick in North's hand, using high card from the short side, you are in North's hand. You are on the correct side of the table right now. You have to do no work at all to get there. You can now win those 2 remaining diamonds immediately, and you should do it immediately so you don't forget it. Tricks 8 and 9. You're going to cash the 9 of diamonds and the 8 of diamonds. And what I would tell you to do in South is to discard 2 hearts. Why would I tell you to discard 2 hearts? Because that will void your heart suit for you. You're often always looking to void suits when you can. Right? It's just an efficient way, because you'll still have a heart in North. You might be able to trump that heart later. So you like to void suits when you can. And playing the 2 heart cards, which are not going to do you any good, right now, as you play the 8 and 9 of diamonds, allows you to void South completely in hearts. And now you've just established and won 2 extra tricks that you couldn't be sure of in the beginning because you would have to play this hand correctly. So this is what your hand looks like after you've played tricks 5 through 9. That was the development phase. And you have 1, 2, 3, 4 cards remaining in both hands. Now we are on to the last step, step 5. Now we can reap our rewards and take our sure winners. On trick 10, because we've won the last trick up here in North in the diamonds, we're going to lead a low diamond to South's ace of clubs, because now we're playing our sure winners. Now, after trick 10, we have 3 remaining cards, right? How many of those 3 remaining tricks do you think South's declare hand can win? Well, I think 2, if played correctly. If you play the rest of the cards correctly, South is going to try and play the 2 remaining trump cards, the 9 of spades and the 5 of spades, as separate winning tricks. If you now lead the 5 of spades, you have to put the 9 of spades on it in North, and you win 1 trick using 2 trump cards. What if you could play each of those trump cards as separate winners? That would get you 2 tricks. So that's what South wants to do. But the problem here is, at some point, she's not going to win all 3 tricks. Take a look at the club suit in North and South. At some point, South is going to have to play clubs from one side of the table and have to follow suit in clubs on the other side of the table. There's no way around it. There just isn't. You have to follow suit if you lead a club. and you have a club on both sides of the table you have to play. So you're going to have to hand the opponents, east and west, a club trick. And since you have to do that, you know what? Let's do it. There's no way around it. Let's just kill it now. Let's do it. So on trick 11, south, lead a club. Play a club in north, and east and west are absolutely winning that trick. There's nothing you could do about it. There's no way to get rid of one. So they've won the trick. Now we're on trick 12, and you know what east and west likely have left in their hands? Clubs, because we haven't played clubs until now. We only just started playing clubs, right? They have clubs in their hand, and they're likely to play, let's just say they're going to play a club. Let's just say they're going to play a club. If they play a club, can you win this trick? You sure can. How? Because you're going to put the 6 of clubs on it, but you're going to trump it in north with your 9 of spades. And you've just won that spade separately from the 5 of spades in south. What are you going to do on trick 13? You're going to lead the 9 of hearts from north, and you're going to trump it in south with the 5 of spades. That's playing the 2 trump remaining cards separately. And this is called a cross ruff. When you lead a card from a suit on one side of the table where you are void on the other side, so you had no hearts in south, you played a heart from north, you're void in south in hearts, and you specifically lead that card so you can trump it in south. That's called a cross ruff. Because ruff is this, the word ruff means the same thing as trump. We use them completely interchangeably. You ruff a club, you trump a club, or a heart, whatever you're doing. So this is called a cross ruff. And now, south, the only trick you lost was that club you had to give the opponents on trick 11. You won 12 out of 13 tricks. You won 2 over tricks. And you won that many tricks because you played the diamond suit correctly. If you had misplayed diamonds, if you had not played high card from the short side, you've had to either work hard to get to the other side of the table, or you would have misplayed and never gotten those 2 diamond tricks. You might have won 10 tricks, but you wouldn't have won 12, and that matters. You want to beat every other south who's the declarer on this hand. You want to take extra tricks. So how did you do when you were trying to plan this hand? Did you follow your plan from the beginning? Did it work for you? Planning does matter. There are 5 steps when you are a declarer in a trump contract. The first 3 steps actually go pretty quickly. And you're going to get very fast at the first 3 steps. It's the 4th step that's going to take some time. And today we talked about establishing a long suit. In coming weeks, we're going to talk about promotion. We're going to talk about simple finesses. And you end the whole thing by taking whatever winners you have left that you've put on the side or that you established. And then hopefully you've won enough tricks to make your contract or even over tricks. Your PDF has 8 extra exercises for you to practice how to play your hands. Let's see how you do on those. There are answers for all of them. So take a good look at the packet. If you have to listen to parts of this video again, do so. But work through those other 8 exercises and send me questions if you have questions. Let's see what we can answer before we get to class. And we'll go through parts of this again. All right. So this is our first step. This is the first piece of learning how to be a declarer in a trump contract. And there is a plan. There is a method to how you play as declarer in a trump contract. All right. So send me questions that you have, and I'll see you soon.